So it's been 1 week since I got elected to Alsager Town Council. Yes, just 7 days ago. In fact, 7 days ago, I was still out on the campaign trail. But elected I got, and of course I was delighted to find out that I'd won the election last Thursday. So what have I been doing since then? Well, I wanted to tell you what the process is when you become a town councillor. It might be something you're thinking about doing. Well, the very first thing I had to do was to sign a declaration. Now, this declaration just really makes me accountable to you, the public, but also to uphold the code of conduct and to declare any interest that I have in the local area. This all becomes public and it demonstrates transparency and accountability to the public. The second thing I had was this lovely folder, the Alsager Town Council Members Handbook. So as you can see, there's a lot of reading for me to get through over the next few days, and I've already started that. But the third thing that I have been really keen to do is to actually start to deliver on some of my campaign pledges, one of which was to look at the state of the roads in Alsager. Now, as you know, if you are interested in local democracy or interested in the local council, Alsager Town Council is the bottom tier, which means that we don't have responsibility for roads. That falls at the feet of Cheshire East Council. Now, over the many years that I've lived in Alsager, like you, I've seen the roads getting worse and worse. And we have some particularly bad hotspots, one of which is around Asda. The Asda supermarket on Lawton Road, where the crossroads is, going up with Ashmore's Lane. Not only is the road in a terrible condition, with huge potholes, cracked tarmac and gullies that are broken, it's extremely bad when it comes to the pedestrian crossings as well. And I know for a fact that there are people who are very nervous about using the pedestrian crossings near the post office and outside Asda because of the state of the roads. Those who are in wheelchairs, perhaps people who use walking sticks, they just look at the state, they look at the condition of the road and they're nervous to cross the road. We cannot have this. This is terrible for the people of Alsager. And I know from a fact, having spoken to people, that it stops them coming in to shop at Asda because they don't want to drive through that section of road. Of course, there is another back route that they can use to enter into the Fairview car park, but nevertheless, many people know that main entrance way. And that is no excuse. Just because there is a second entrance way, we shouldn't keep Cheshire East off the hook for managing and maintaining that road. So over the last week, I've been looking at what can be done because other town councillors have made their views known to Cheshire East Council. They have presented that on many times through email, through meetings, through letters to the Highways Department of Cheshire East Council, but as yet nothing has been done. Now, one of the actions that Cheshire East have promised to take is to ensure that that road repair is part of their road improvement programme. If you go onto the Cheshire East website, you can actually look at the road improvement programme and you can see which roads are in progress to be improved over the next 2 to 3 years. That section is down for improvement. But the question is it fast enough? And Cheshire East are saying that they're going to do it in 2 phases. So the first phase is going to be a temporary covering of the road. And I don't know exactly what that consists of. It might just be loose chippings that they're going to bed down as a kind of temporary measure. And then the second phase includes a whole rethink about the pedestrian crossings. And it's called the Pedestrian Crossing Scheme. Now, I don't know any details about this pedestrian crossing scheme. I don't understand whether they're going to be changing the pedestrian crossings, and I've asked for further detail on that to understand what is meant by the pedestrian crossing scheme. That won't happen till 2026-27. My fear is that it's going to be 2 years before that road gets mended, and in the meantime, drivers have to put up with the potholes getting far worse. Lorries, tractors, bikes are going to be using that surface, potentially trying to avoid the potholes, and it may create much greater hazards for pedestrians and also for drivers. We have to take action. But what can we do? One of the values that reform has is freedom. We want people to be free to drive, free to walk, free to use their town centres. We also want to hold those who are in power and hold the budgets to account. So what I've been thinking this week is, how can I help to solve this problem? How can I use the freedom that I have as an individual, take responsibility as a town councillor, take responsibility as a resident and a local citizen to start to aggravate Cheshire East, to get them to do something faster? So I started to do some research, and I found a very useful Act of Parliament called the 1980s Highways Act. And there is a little known section in this Act of Parliament called Section 56. Now, Section 56 of the 1980s Highways Act has been used sparingly, but I think Cheshire East might start to find that some of the notices relating to this Act start to fall on their desk a little bit more frequently after this video. Because Section 56 of the 1980s Highways Act allows me or you as a member of the public to ask for a notice. In fact, you can issue this notice to the person that you think is responsible for maintaining the road. And here we have my Section 56 notice that I have written to Cheshire East Highways, and I shall be sending this off later today. And the notice states that I, Wendy Whitaker-Large, claim that the way, which is the section of road which I believe to be in disrepair, described in Schedule 1, which will be a diagram of the said road, hereto is a highway maintainable at public expense. So this is the Highways Act we're talking about, and the first principle that has to be established is Cheshire East responsible for that highways? Because of course there are private roads across the UK, there are paths, there are footpaths, many of which the local council is not responsible for maintaining, in which case that road would not be their responsibility. But where it is their responsibility, take notice that a portion of that said way, specifically Lawson Road, Alsager, in the vicinity of Asda supermarket and the post office, as described on Schedule 1, is out of repair by way of potholes and other surface damage. Now, this particular notice, when Cheshire East receives it, they have got a month in which they have to reply. So they've got 1 month to respond to this notice. If they don't respond within a month, I can escalate this to a Crown Court or a Magistrates Court. And the Magistrates Court or the County Court can take action against Cheshire East for non-compliance of response to a notice. Now, that does not necessarily mean that they then have to take action. What it means is they have to respond to the notice. And I'm asking for 2 things in the notice. Number 1, that they demonstrate whether they are or they are not liable for that section of the highway. Now, we know they are. They are liable for that section of the highway. But the second thing is, why have they not repaired it? Now, the very powerful mechanism that this notice offers is it allows us, and when I say us, I mean we, the citizen, the ratepayer, the taxpayer, the silent majority, it allows us within 6 months of that notice being responded to enforce the local authority to take action. And within 6 months of them replying to that notice, they have to demonstrate that they are going to repair that section of road. Now, I discovered this when I Googled what can be done with a broken road that is full of potholes. And I found a case of a man over in Aldham, not far away from here in fact, who had used the Section 56 notice against Cheshire East Council and had got a section of road repaired in Aldham using this mechanism. Now, I've never heard of this mechanism before. Clearly, there are some members of the public that are well versed on the law and the Highways Act 1980, and they've used it. Good for them. I'm going to use it for that section of road outside Asda. And I suggest that you too might think about copying this very notice and using it for sections of road and getting your council to be accountable for the potholes and road fixtures which they should be mending. There are many other areas like this in Alsager. This is just the tip of the iceberg. But unless you and I take action, unless we are empowered to address some of these issues in our local area, nothing will ever change. I want to change it. That's why you voted for me, and that's what I'm doing. In my very first week, I'm taking action to fulfill my obligations, my promises to you on the campaign, and I very much intend to do that. Please like and subscribe to this video, to this channel, if you want to hear more about what I'm doing as your local town councillor, and I look forward to speaking to you or hearing from you very soon. Thank you for watching.